What's going on, guys? It's Adam P. Match day at St James's Park, Champions League match day as we take on Bilbao. Going into this game, a lot of real frustration because you see it tonight. I'm willing to bet before I've even watched the game tonight, I think Newcastle will be class. I think Newcastle will give 100%. I think they'll go for it. And even, let's say we don't put the best performance in, I think Newcastle does get a result. And that's the fact, because when you look at the league, we don't fully give 100% in my opinion. Because I think the West Ham performance, yes, you could argue the illness, but what about the away matches this season? What about the away matches you can argue for a couple of years now? Newcastle's not turned up in the league, and we haven't been great this season. Yet in the Champions League, that's when your big players like a Gordon turns up, Barnes has turned up. Like, these are players that just don't contribute to the league. But yeah, sorry for the negative start there. I think Newcastle will do well, and I had a chance actually to be amongst the Bilbao fans there. There'll be a huge video on the channel where you're talking like actual 30 minutes long of just me being able to meet the Bilbao fans, physically show you what an experience is like and what a nice bunch of fans they are. Of course, got a real connection, the chance tonight for Newcastle just to take it all in before we head out there. And of course, the story changes on the pitch because Newcastle does need to be ruthless. We need to be horrible. I think Newcastle just needs to make sure it is just an occasion for them. We need to punish them tonight. Newcastle does that. You win here, you win against PSV at home. That is you into the knockout phase of the Champions League before you even considered the remaining 3 away games. Newcastle can get the job done on home soil. We need to get the job done on home soil. If you guys are new around here, of course, get down here, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate your support as always. Make sure you stick around so you don't miss out on that mega video tomorrow. We focus a lot more on the Bilbao fans and just how good they actually were. Best I've personally seen at St James's Park in the Champions League, unreal. But let's get on the way, let's speak to some fans and let's get inside the ground. As always, here is Ruben's time, just behind, well, what is going to be about 3,000 Athletic Club fans ready to go on the escort. But going into the game tonight, Rob, of course, in Champions League, Newcastle's been good, but just not good in the league. So I'm assuming you're going to be confident enough in the league tonight without any of the bottles falling over.
Falling on top of us, yeah. Yes, Sunday was a very bad day for Newcastle. As lots of people said, one of the worst we've played in a while. But as we know, we seem to turn it on for the Champions League. So despite how Gordon played, despite how a lot of people played under the lights, you've got to hope we turn up for it. We'll do anyway. And you'd imagine after the grilling they would have got off anyhow on Sunday. There's a lot of making up to do. I think it's tonight. I think it's the weekend against Brentford. I think it's, we really need to use the weekend as our turning point. But tonight, this is what it's all about. Look at that. The big market's absolutely rammed. Absolutely loving it. So yes, predicted a win. Hopefully a convincing one. Yeah, and enjoy it.
Every single thing. This is not water time.
What a header that is. Oh my God. Dan Burn, I mean, that is probably actually better. Potentially his cup final header. It's up there, like, I even think of a Billy, that's probably better. What a set piece goal. Not much to say. We've had one shot on target and scored it, so at least we're being clinical today and took a chance. I swear down, this noise is so annoying. It's stupid TV, not working out on time, and it's just pure ringing noise. I thought it was my ears at first, it's not. It's the actual stadium noise going through. This is doing my head in. Considering the lack of quality in the first half, that is certainly something that we needed. That is the killing blow to 2-0 with Joe Linton and the offside goal. And that was two good goals from Newcastle. Well, that is basically Newcastle in the knockout phase of the competition. You needed 10 points last time, we've got 9 now, and you still have to play 4 more games. What an outstanding Champions League return this has been. It won't get more comfortable in that one. That has to be the most comfortable Champions League performance I've ever seen from Newcastle. Take care, mate.
That's Newcastle versus Sunderland right here on Sunday the 16th of November. Kick-off is at 2 p.m. Studio support and book your tickets online today at book.newcastleunited.com.
Fair play to every single one of them, by the way. So they were the highlight for Athletic Club Bilbao today, because their team just kind of uninspiring. I think it was just the fact we've got better players, to be honest. It's not like they haven't put the effort in. I just think Newcastle has a much better team than them, and I think they've just been well outclassed. Fair play though. Honestly, the best I've seen in the Champions League away fans here. Full time in the Champions League, Newcastle United 2, Athletic Bilbao 0. That has to be the most comfortable Champions League performance I've ever seen from Newcastle. It was honestly just such an easy game, without discrediting the opposition team, hello mate. And I want to start the Bilbao point of view first. I mentioned it in a lot of detail yesterday. 9 injuries in that Bilbao team. No Nico Williams, no Inaki Williams, no Sanchez, no Yuri. Going into the game, Bilbao's missing key players that they needed to be able to have an edge against Newcastle. It was just such a comfortable game for Newcastle, even when things weren't going so well. I would argue the first half was flat. Let's just be real. It was literally Newcastle scored an unbelievable goal under Dan Burn. I actually think, technically, in terms of quality, I think that is a better goal than his Wembley goal. Obviously, that Wembley goal is more iconic. It's never ever going to be a worse score than that one today. But I actually think, in terms of quality, that's a better goal to score. You can clearly see it's been worked on that training ground. Trippier whips it across Burn. What a header that is. We'll mention a bit more about Burn shortly, but in a Bilbao point of view, even if Newcastle weren't playing great, they just weren't better. Lazio Roma. Johnny boys, we're taking over. The Champions League awaits for me. Last lads, take care, boys. That's the message today. Yeah, come over here, bud. Hello, you right?
Yeah.
What a win that is. What do you think about that? Class, innit? 9 points now, almost there. Come on, you look after yourself, bud. Take care, thank you so much for it. Fulham was it? I see you around, buddy. But yeah, what a result that was in terms of the structure, because you've got 9 points now. You needed 10 last season. One more win's getting you there. You literally one more win and you've got 4 games to do it. PSV is, I would argue, an easier home game as well. Bilbao fans were the highlight. They were the highlight the entire trip. They were class before the game, but I'll show you properly tomorrow in my video how good they actually were. The idea and the main key for Newcastle was silencing them. Just make sure you got that goal nice and early, which you've done. It was a real sucker blow, and the atmosphere just dipped straight away. You could just tell it was a bit of a deflating goal for them. In their point of view, I think they knew we were in for a hard time today, but I still would have had self-belief that they could have done something, and they just couldn't do anything. It would have been a depressing game for them because Newcastle were just better everything. The only thing they did in the first half was had an outrageously good piece of technical strike, probably the hardest shot I've ever seen come off the post, and other than that, it was all Newcastle while not doing much, because you've had basically 2 chances that were onside in the half, and yet Newcastle didn't do much more on that. Second half, got the second goal straight away. That was the killer. 2-0, you're never ever scoring 2 goals with the way that game was going. Bilbao had nothing in the game and didn't do anything until the game was already dead. Newcastle were essentially, I'd argue, maybe just letting them in somewhat, have a few chances. Biggest positive for me today, Lewis Hall. I have to say, Lewis Hall back in the team. Oh my words. In terms of a full-back that's actually moving the ball forward, running with the ball, just doing everything in an attacking sense, moving that ball up the pitch. He is streets ahead of Dan Burn. Dan Burn's class, he's a club legend. I think he's a top quality centre half. Left back, you see the difference. Lewis Hall, even in that short stint he had today, what a game changer he is. I can't wait to see him at Brentford. I actually would argue he is a potential game changer down at Brentford as well. Straight away, he's back when you got Livramento back, and when you get Whistle on the team. I think we are a different team, because the quality you're going to get attacking wise is going to be a lot better, and hopefully for players like Gordon as well, who I'm doing so well in the league, I'm hoping Lewis Hall is just going to set up perfectly. But talking about Gordon, because he didn't look match fit at all. A bit of a weird, perhaps having the start 11. I don't know if that's from the illness bug, he just had something going on with his hip, but he just looked off it all game long and was subbed off around 40 minutes into the match. So that was a weird choice to start, and yeah, it just wasn't great from him. In terms of negatives, I got a couple of maybe little negatives. A big one for me, Alanga. That's a match that's screaming for someone to come on and do something, because Alanga has obviously not scored for Newcastle yet. He's maybe a bit low on confidence. That match there is screaming for you to come on and do something, and admittedly that wasn't his natural side in the left hand side, but I was expecting him to do something. I felt like Newcastle still had loads of control in the game when he came on, and Anthony Alanga, I would actually argue, had a negative effect on the game, because Bilbao actually came back into it, and I would argue Newcastle's attack looked worse when he was there on, and that's you're talking £55 million signing. He's just not looked it so far, and he's hawking 0 goals, 0 assists, and how many matches now? He took 15, 16 games. That's a lot of games where he hasn't contributed in. I had to say, how dominant Newcastle were, he was actually a negative impact on the team today. I actually felt like Newcastle dropped off a bit when he came on. He just wasn't great at all. But then again, he'll get his goal at some point. I'm not going to bash into him, because we want him to improve, we want him to do well, and I think he will do well. He will eventually come good. Just today was, again, just not quite it, unfortunately. That's a real shame, because otherwise it was a good Newcastle performance, but maybe just a bit all-inspiring. It was just a bit flat. It was just too easy, I would actually argue. Not a negative towards Newcastle, it was just too easy. There wasn't any competition there. There was nothing to it, and you have to say, I've never ever seen a more comfortable Champions League match like that, and that just shows you, even if Newcastle's not in form, that just shows the quality they are. That just shows the kind of team they are, and that just shows the kind of players we are. That is a well-registered European side that's came to St James Park today, and you're just being well and truly battered from Newcastle. They were just playing off the park, and that's still a good pot forward team. I would actually argue that's the best pot forward team in the entire Champions League format, and Newcastle was just spanked them 2-0, and it was just the most comfortable game I've ever had. Fair play to Bilbao fans again. They were the absolute highlight of the game. I'm going to show you a lot more tomorrow, but in terms of today, it was just a bit of a flat game, but Newcastle got the job done. That's what I asked for. We got it done. Well done, boys. That's exactly what we asked for. Get a result against Brentford, then we move on, and then we continue to improve. Take care, guys. We'll see you all in the next one.